Okay, so if you're thinking about designing a website but don't know where to start, then in this video I'll walk you through my step-by-step process for web design. And this is the same process that I follow to make sure that every site I build is not just good looking, but actually works for users. So let's get started. Step one is starting with user research. So before you even think about colors, fonts, layouts, you need to understand who you're designing for. A website should be built around users, not just what looks nice. Okay, so you should ask yourself, what's the goal of your site? You have to figure out who your audience is, what do they need, what problems do they have, and you may also consider creating a user persona, which is basically a made-up character that represents your ideal visitor. And think about what they're looking for when they land on your site. And why does this matter? Well, when you design with real people in mind, your site becomes more useful. And when a site is useful, people stay longer, engage more, and convert better. Next, you should plan the website structure. A website is not just a bunch of pages, it's an experience. So you need to make sure people can move through it smoothly without getting lost. And this is how you do it. You can create a user flow first. So think about how visitors will navigate your site. What's the main goal? Finding information, making a purchase, contacting you. A user flow is a process that takes the customers to where you want them to end up to. Okay, and then the sitemap. A sitemap is a plan. So it's something that you do to structure your pages on the website. Okay, so think about all the pages that you want to include on your site, and then we want to keep it simple and logical. Okay, and keep in mind that if a user has to stop and think about where to click next, your navigation then needs work. A clear structure keeps visitors engaged. The third step is finding design inspiration. Before jumping into design, it's always a good idea to look at what's already out there. And keep in mind that I'm talking about inspiration. I'm not talking about copying someone else's work. Okay, so where do you find ideas? So there are design inspiration websites, which are great for creative design examples. And I already did a couple of videos on that and on this channel, so I recommend you go and check them out. The second option you have is to check out competitor websites, so you can see what works, but also think about how you can improve it. Okay, and also I recommend you try and see real-world design. So websites are not the only resource of inspiration. So you should check out, for example, magazines, packaging, or even some kind of architecture. And keep in mind that the goal is not to copy, it's to take good ideas and make them your own. Next we have wireframing, and you should always sketch before you design. So wireframing is the rough draft of your website where you focus on layout instead of colors or fonts. And this is how you do it. You can use any user interface software like Figma, which is the most famous one, or you can even draw on a piece of paper to create a rough layout if you wish. And you should start with a low fidelity wireframe. So you just draw some boxes and placeholders and focus on where elements should go rather than how they look. And this step saves time. So if you skip wireframing, you'll likely make a lot of changes later, which slows down everything. Step 5 is defining the visual style. So now comes the fun part. It's about choosing the colors, the fonts, and the design elements that will give your site its personality. So you should focus on the color palette. You should stick to maximum 3-4 colors. because too many colors make a site look messy. Second is typography. You should choose fonts that are easy to read and that match the brand's personality if you already have one. And then focus on design consistency. So buttons, spacing, and icons should all follow a clear style. Okay, and I already made a couple of videos on both colors and typography, so I recommend you check them out. So the main tip that I can give you here is to follow the 60-30-10 rule, which works great, and you should use 60% for a main color, 30% for a secondary color, and 10% for an accent color. Then we have step 6, which is designing high fidelity mockups. So this is where your website starts looking real. A high fidelity mockup is a detailed version of your wireframe with actual content, images, and styles applied. So you should replace all the placeholders with real images and text, and you should make sure that buttons and links are easy to find and click. And make sure to keep plenty of white space to make the design feel clean and uncluttered. Okay, and this step is key because a strong mockup makes the development process easier, ensuring that everything looks just as good when the site is developed. Step 7 is to build the website. So now it's time to bring the design to life. Whether you're coding from scratch or using a website builder, the goal is to develop a site that's fast, responsive, and user-friendly. So this is how you do it. If you're using a website builder, such as Webflow, Wix, Framer, etc., you won't need a hosting provider. You'll just need to buy a domain. And instead, if you are going with WordPress, you'll need to set up hosting and the domain, and then install WordPress, which will be very easy. The hosting provider will guide you on how to do it. And next, you want to build your site, optimize for performance. So you should compress the images, you should use caching, and reduce unnecessary code. And another important step is to make it mobile friendly, because over half of web traffic comes from phones. So test everything on different devices. And keep in mind that speed matters. A slow site loses visitors, so always aim for fast load times. And then we have the very last step, which is this one right here, step 8. So before your website goes live, you should double check these things. First one is test your website on different browsers and devices. Then you have to set up basic SEO, so add meta descriptions, optimize images, and structure your URLs properly. Then what you want to do is to install analytics to track your traffic and user behavior so you can improve your site. And then you want to submit your sitemap to Google Search Console for faster SEO results. And if possible, ask a few people to test your site before launching, because different eyes often catch small issues that you might not notice. Okay, so that's my complete web design process. If you follow these steps, you'll create websites that not only look good, but also work great for users. Thank you for watching. Check out the resources in the video's description, and I'll see you in the next one.